At a high-end gala, I danced with a man I just met, his hands lingering on my waist as he whispered, "Tell me why you're doing this." I smiled and said, "Because he needs to catch me." The music swelled, and I let him kiss my neck, just as a camera flash lit up the room. I knew the photo would find its way to the right person. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a single text, "We're done." Smiling, I replied, "Finally." I knew exactly what I was doing when I walked into that gala. I wore a dress that hugged me in all the right places, my hair cascading over one shoulder the way he always liked. The room was buzzing laughter, glasses clinking, soft jazz playing over the chatter of New York's elite. Then I saw him. Adam. My husband. The man I had spent the last 6 years of my life with. He was standing by the bar, talking to some CEO, his Rolex flashing under the chandelier lights. He looked polished, powerful, the image of a man in control. But not tonight. Tonight, I was the one in control. I felt a hand on my lower back. "May I have this dance?" I turned and looked up at the man standing beside me. Tall, dark suit, a sharp jawline, and eyes that held just enough intrigue. "James." I smiled. Perfect timing. I let him lead me to the dance floor. His hands rested on my waist, just firm enough to make it look real. I felt the heat of his palm through the thin fabric of my dress. The music swelled. And then he leaned in, his lips grazing my ear. "Tell me why you're doing this," he whispered. I let my lips curl into a slow smile. "Because he needs to catch me." And then, right on cue, James tilted his head down, pressing a lingering kiss against the curve of my neck. A camera flash went off. I didn't flinch. I didn't need to turn around to know someone had captured the moment. And I didn't need to wonder where that photo would end up. I already knew. The next morning, my phone buzzed. One message. "We're done." I stared at the words, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. I typed my reply. Finally. I met Adam in Chicago. A rooftop bar, a summer night, the skyline glowing behind him. He was older, established, sharp in a way that made people stop and listen when he spoke. He was the kind of man who could walk into a room and own it without trying. And I was young, ambitious, hungry for something bigger than what my life had been. He bought me a drink. I let him. We talked about business, travel, art, things I barely understood but pretended I did. He liked that. He liked how eager I was to learn. He told me I had potential, that I had a good mind, that I could go far. And for a while, I believed him. When Adam wanted something, he got it. And that night, he decided he wanted me. I was flattered. I was naive. I thought I had won something special. He moved fast. Weekend trips, expensive gifts, candlelit dinners at places with names I could barely pronounce. He introduced me to people who mattered, took me to places I never thought I'd see. He made me feel like I was a part of something bigger. Like I belonged in his world. And then, 6 months later, he proposed. Paris. The Eiffel Tower. The whole fairy tale. I said yes before he even finished asking. I should have known fairy tales weren't real. The first few years were golden. I traveled, wore designer dresses, drank wine that cost more than my old rent. I had a life people envied. At least, that's what it looked like from the outside. On the inside, little cracks started to show. Adam worked late. He became guarded with his phone. He started locking his laptop. And then, one night, I found a receipt. Le Bernardin. A dinner for two. A $600 bill. The date? A night he was supposed to be in Miami. I stared at it, my pulse thudding in my ears. Maybe it was work. Maybe it was nothing. Then I saw the name scrawled on the bottom. Rebecca. The air left my lungs. It wasn't nothing. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I hired a private investigator. It took 2 weeks. 2 weeks for him to come back with a folder full of photos. Adam with Rebecca at a hotel, Rebecca in his car, Rebecca laughing with him over drinks. Rebecca. The woman I didn't know existed until that night. Rebecca, who had been in his life for over a year. A year. I felt like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. And here's the part that should have been simple. I should have packed my bags. I should have walked away. But I didn't. Because Adam had built an empire. And I had helped. My name was on things, on his businesses, on his assets. Walking away without a plan would mean losing everything. And I wasn't going to lose. So, I smiled. I kissed him goodnight. I played the perfect wife. And while I did, I built my escape plan. For a year, I gathered everything. Bank statements. Emails. Documents. I traced his money, found the accounts he thought were hidden. I learned where the bodies were buried. And then, I planned my final move. The gala was the last piece of the puzzle. I needed him to catch me. Men like Adam? They don't like losing. But they really don't like being made into fools. So, I let him think he had the upper hand. And then, I let him see me with another man. James. A friend. A photographer. Someone I trusted to play his part. I let him hold me, touch me, press his lips against my skin. I let the camera flash at just the right moment. And then I waited. The next morning, Adam did exactly what I knew he would. He sent the text. "We're done." What he didn't know was that I had already filed for divorce. What he didn't know was that I had the upper hand. What he didn't know was that I had been waiting for this moment. I smiled as I typed my reply. Finally. And then I sat back, sipping my coffee, knowing that for the first time in 6 years, Adam was the one who had lost. Adam took the bait. That much was obvious when his lawyer called mine within hours of my text. It wasn't a conversation. It was a warning. "Mr. Carter wants this handled quickly and quietly," the lawyer had said, his voice smooth, practiced. "He hopes you'll be reasonable." I had to fight back a laugh. Reasonable? Adam never cared about being reasonable. He cared about winning. And he didn't expect me to fight. But I'd spent a year making sure I'd win. And yet, I should have known Adam wouldn't let me walk away that easily. I wasn't free. Not yet. The first sign of trouble came 2 days later. I was at my apartment in Tribeca, sipping on an overpriced green juice, scrolling through my emails, when I saw the subject line, "Urgent. Settlement changes." I clicked it open. My stomach turned. Adam was contesting everything. The apartment? He wanted it back. The shares? He wanted them frozen. The money? He was willing to fight for every single dollar. I let out a slow breath, pressing my fingers against my temples. This wasn't about money. It was about control. Adam didn't just want to win, he wanted to ruin me. I knew what I had on him. I had proof of his affairs, proof of his hidden assets, proof that would send the IRS sniffing around places he didn't want them to go. But Adam wasn't stupid. He wouldn't go down without a fight. And he was about to remind me just how ruthless he could be. It started small. A glitch at the bank froze my account. My emails to my lawyer mysteriously disappeared from my inbox. Then, my landlord called. "Miss Carter, I'm afraid there's been an issue with your lease renewal. We might have to reconsider your tenancy." I gripped my phone so hard my fingers ached. This was Adam. No doubt about it. He was pulling strings, making my life difficult, reminding me who really held the power. But the worst was yet to come. 3 days later, I walked into my lawyer's office and saw a thick file waiting for me on the desk. I slid into the chair, heart pounding. "What's this?" My lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Dana, pushed it toward me. Adam's counterattack. I opened it. My breath caught in my throat. Inside were photos. Of me at the gala. Me in James' arms. Me laughing, eyes half-lidded, lips slightly parted. The images were intimate, suggestive, but not scandalous. Not really. But the way they were framed? It looked like I was in love with James. Like I had been cheating for months. I clenched my jaw. This is bullshit. Dana exhaled sharply. He's claiming you had an affair. That you were unfaithful for years. That you're the one who broke the marriage. I laughed, but it sounded hollow. He cheated first. She gave me a look. Doesn't matter. He's playing dirty. He's saying you had an inappropriate relationship with James long before this. That you manipulated him, used his wealth, then humiliated him publicly. My stomach turned. Adam knew the truth. He knew what he did. But now he was flipping the script. Painting himself as the betrayed husband, the victim. And in a city like New York, where reputations were everything, he knew exactly what he was doing. This wasn't just about the divorce anymore. This was war. I had expected him to fight. I hadn't expected him to go this far. The next morning, my name was in page 6. Billionaire's wife caught in late-night embrace. Secret affair exposed? I stared at my phone screen, reading the headline again and again, my pulse hammering in my ears. The article was full of half-truths and clever wording. It didn't outright say I had cheated, but it suggested it. And that was enough. Enough to make people talk. Enough to make people question. I slammed my phone down, rage bubbling under my skin. James called minutes later. "Are you okay?" His voice was tense. I forced out a laugh. "I should be asking you that. You're the one they just labeled my secret lover." "I don't care about me," he said. "But you? You need to fight back. He's trying to turn the city against you." I gripped the edge of my counter. James was right. Adam wanted me to look weak. He wanted me to crawl back, beg for a quiet divorce, take whatever crumbs he was willing to give. But that wasn't going to happen. He wanted war? He was about to find out just how much damage I could do. The first thing I did was make a call. Then another. By noon, I was sitting in a private office with a woman named Vivian Marks. Vivian was a PR shark. The kind of woman who could bury a scandal before it even started. She smoothed out her perfectly pressed blazer and looked at me with calculating eyes. "Tell me everything." And I did. No sugarcoating. No holding back. She listened, nodding slightly, then leaned back in her chair. "Adam's playing offense. You need to flip the game." "How?" A slow smile spread across her lips. "You expose him first." I left the meeting with a plan. Adam thought he could control the narrative. He thought he could turn me into the villain. But he had forgotten one thing. I had everything on him. And I wasn't afraid to use it. I moved fast. Vivian got her team working on the media spin within hours. By the next morning, I was sitting in a midtown office, watching a polished press statement hit every major outlet. Sources close to the couple confirmed that Mr. Carter's own indiscretions may have played a role in the marriage's dissolution. While allegations of an affair have been directed at Mrs. Carter, evidence suggests a more complicated truth. Subtle, controlled, but just enough to plant a seed of doubt. The narrative had shifted. And Adam? He was about to lose his mind. I was right. The next evening, I got a call. Blocked number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something inside me said to pick up. I pressed the phone to my ear. "You think you're so clever." His voice was calm. Too calm. I forced myself to stay steady. "No, Adam. I know I am." He let out a slow chuckle. "You always did have a talent for playing the victim. And you always had a talent for underestimating me." Silence. Then, his voice dropped lower. "Enjoy your little victory. It won't last." The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my pulse pounding. That wasn't a threat. That was a promise. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept my phone next to me, half expecting another call. But it never came. Instead, something worse did. At exactly 7:42 a.m., I got an email. Subject: The truth, no sender name. No signature. Just an attachment. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to open it. But I did. And the moment I did, my stomach turned to ice. It was a video. A hotel room. Dimly lit. The grainy security footage kind. A woman in lingerie. A man sitting on the bed. The woman climbed onto his lap, her hands sliding over his shoulders. And the man? James. My James. I clamped a hand over my mouth. I couldn't breathe. I watched as the woman leaned in, her lips moving against his ear. Then, she reached for something beside her. A glass. She slipped something into it. James took a sip. 30 seconds later, he slumped forward. And then, the woman looked straight at the camera. And smiled. My vision blurred. I played it again. And again. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone, dialing James. Voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. Then, a text. Unknown number. You should have taken the deal. The room tilted. This wasn't just a divorce battle anymore. This was something else. Something darker. And for the first time, I realized Adam wasn't just playing dirty. He was playing to destroy me. And I had no idea how far he was willing to go. I was being set up. And I had no idea how deep this went. The video wasn't just a hit against James. It was leverage. Blackmail. A silent, unspoken message from Adam. Back down, or I will ruin everything you have left. But Adam didn't know me as well as he thought. Because I wasn't backing down. The first thing I did was find James. It took 3 hours, but I finally tracked him down at his apartment in Brooklyn. He looked like hell. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, pacing like a man who knew the walls were closing in. The moment he saw me, his face twisted. Don't. I shut the door behind me. What the hell happened? He let out a bitter laugh. You saw the video. That's not an answer. His hands clenched into fists. I don't know who she was. I swear to God. I had a drink, and then, I don't know. I woke up in my hotel room feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Adam did this, I whispered. James met my eyes. Yeah. And now, I'm a liability. I swallowed hard. Adam didn't need proof that I had an affair. He just needed to plant enough doubt. The suggestion. The whisper. In court, in the media, it wouldn't matter whether the video was real or staged. All that mattered was that people believed it. And that meant I had to make my next move fast. I met Vivian that night in her office, sitting across from her as she flipped through printouts of the video stills. This is bad, she said flatly. This makes you look guilty as hell. I exhaled sharply. It's fake. He was drugged. You know that. Vivian tilted her head. Of course I do. But that doesn't change the fact that everyone else is going to see what Adam wants them to see. I hated how right she was. Do we leak his affairs? I asked. Vivian hesitated. We could. She tapped her nails against the desk. But that's playing defense. I frowned. What's offense? She leaned forward. We don't just expose the cheating. We expose everything. The hidden money. The shell companies. The dirty deals. I felt my pulse spike. That would ruin him, I said. Vivian held my gaze. Exactly. The gala had been a setup. But this time, I was the one setting the stage. A week later, Adam was hosting a fundraiser at the Waldorf Astoria. A room filled with politicians, business elites, and the press. I knew because I had an invitation. Courtesy of Vivian. I walked in alone, my heels clicking against the polished marble, my heart steady. I could feel eyes on me, whispers barely concealed behind champagne glasses. There she is. The cheater. The gold digger. Let them talk. I wasn't here for them. I was here for him. And when I spotted Adam near the stage, holding court with a group of senators and CEOs, I made my move. I walked straight toward him. He saw me at the last second, his expression tightening. "Darling," he said smoothly, his voice dripping with false charm. "Didn't expect to see you here." I smiled. "That makes two of us." He started to turn, dismissing me like I was nothing. So I took out my phone and hit play. The speakers overhead crackled to life. And then, his voice rang out. "A recording. Move the money through the Cayman account. No paper trail." Silence. The room froze. Adam's face drained of color. I took a step closer. "Play. If she fights the divorce, make her life hell. I don't care what it takes." Murmurs. A shift in the air. People exchanging looks. Another recording. "James? Drug him. Let's see how she likes being the one caught." Gasps. And then, oh chaos. People backing away from Adam like he was radioactive. His lawyer bolting from the room. A senator muttering something about bad optics. Adam finally snapped out of his shock. His head jerked toward me, his eyes wild with fury. I warned you," I said softly. His hands shook. "You just ruined me." I tilted my head. "No, Adam. You ruined yourself." Security approached. The cameras flashed. And then, Adam Carter, the man who thought he was untouchable, was escorted out of his own event. The fallout was immediate. Adam's assets were frozen within 48 hours. His name was splashed across every newspaper. His company's board forced him out. The scandal was too big to ignore. James was cleared of any wrongdoing. The video was proven to be a setup. And me? I got everything. The settlement. The house. The financial freedom. But more importantly, I got my life back. A month later, I sat in a cafe, sipping a coffee, watching the world go by. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. One word. "Why?" I didn't respond. I just smiled, set my phone down, and took another sip of my coffee. Because the truth was, he should have seen it coming.